Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय, हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, टैगोर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Krishna. Dandavat pranams to everyone.
Dandavat pranams to everyone. Are you people able to hear us?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Audible.
So, to all the devotees who have just assembled here or who have just signed in here, my name is Shiv, Samba Shiva, and I
Hare
have.
Krishna, my name is Mamta.
Right, so we have just replaced our Prabhu who has just got into, I think, Krishna's mercy. He has given him some sort of a work to our Suhas Prabhu, and that's how maybe he has showered his mercy to take up this seva. So, for the next 10 days or so, we will be with you in this particular 18 days course. We will try to be as much as possible. I'm sure you people would have gotten some ways of learning with our Suhas Prabhu. We will try to be as much as we can give you that explanation right in the next 10 days. Please bear with us. If there are any questions as such, we can always take the questions. So what we're going to do is in the next 1 hour or so, we will go with this particular chapter, that is the 9th chapter, and then we will take up question answer session. Is that how we go ahead, Prabhu? Is the same format we go ahead, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Is our voice audible loud and clear, Mataji?
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
Okay, so let me quickly bring in the presentation. Are you people able to see the screen?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Okay.
Right, so I see all the participants are unmuted, right?
Let's just begin with a revision.
Yes, let's allow participants to unmute themselves. Yes, so let's sort of begin with a sort of revision as to what we have learned so far. What did we learn yesterday? Can anyone would like to uh, narrate some points as to what we have learned yesterday?
Allow participants.
So yesterday was the 8th day, right? One of the most important days. Yes, I think Vasantaran,
Vasantarini,
Vasantarini Mataji,
Mataji,
you would
would you
want to
like
say
to
something?
revise? Just a one-liner of whatever you
One
learned
liner
would be
is what
good.
you have learned yesterday, Mataji.
No, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
I'm first time listening Bhagavad Gita, so I would like to remain quietly and listen until end of Bhagavad Gita, because I can't 100% understand what is it relating, but I know it is saying about Krishna everything,
Mhm.
and the main chanting and so on. So that's why I don't ask any question at the moment. Maybe this first section, I just want to get the full Bhagavad Gita information. Then maybe the second round when I participate, I might understand more about this Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
No worries at all, Mataji. Yes, I think Murli Prabhu would want to add something. Please go ahead, Murli Prabhu.
I just want to say what we have done yesterday.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yesterday we learned about knowledge of the self. Yeah.
Okay.
Then there are 6 questions which were doubts which were asked by Arjuna. These were related to Adhyatma, soul, Adibhuta. How do I recognize this? Yeah.
Adidevika, very good. Excellent.
He wants Krishna to kill all his doubts as he killed Madhusudana. Yeah. Then what is karma? What is Adi Daiva? Yeah. What is Adi Jnana? Yeah. Then
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Yadi, again,
yeah, I
you've given
think
all the information. Yes, Adibhuta, Adidevika, there are 8 questions which he asked. Very good. Thank you so
yeah.
much. Yes, I think Preeti Mataji would want to add as well. Please go ahead, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I may not be able to use the exact terms that are explained by Suhas Prabhuji.
Mhm.
But what I understood that, in yesterday's class, there was emphasis on how and, what is the difference between following Krishna or surrendering to Krishna and surrendering to demigods. And when we are, surrendering to Krishna, we land to a different planet, which is more of peace and spirituality compared to when we follow to demigods. And I think there was also mention about 4 types of people, who don't believe in Krishna or who don't follow,
Yeah.
Krishna consciousness.
Yes.
So this is in nutshell what I have understood.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Perfect. Perfect.
Well,
Yes.
And I think 4 who believe also is there.
Yes, there
4
are
types who believe
four
and
types
4
of
who don't believe.
Yes, so there are 4 types of people who believe in it, right? And there are 4 types of mudhas who don't believe in it. There are mudhas and naradhamas and so on and so forth, right? And there are some people who also believe in it, who are called as jnanis and so on and so forth, right? We saw people who are in distressed and so on and so forth. So I'm sure you would have learned about bhakti, where it completely concludes about bhakti. Bhakti is the essence of the all the forms of the yoga. I hope you people still remember the yoga ladders which we learned in the Karma Kanda section or in the third day, fourth day, and fifth day. You still remember the yoga ladders?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect, perfect. So with that thought, what I'll take your permission over here to mute you all, and then if there are, and then we will go ahead with the session right now. We'll start the session, and if there are any particular questions, we will take the questions at the end of the session. Okay. So before I start the session, one more question I would want to ask: were we keeping the chat open, or do you want us to block the chat? Because there are at times where, okay, we will keep the chat open. If there are any questions, you can type in at the same time. We will try to answer those questions as well. Right. Okay, so today is the 9th day, which is Rajaguhya Rajavidya. We will try to understand, which is the king of the knowledge. We will try to understand this particular chapter in depth in terms of, or a sort of an overview in the next 1 hour. Again, for people who just joined in, I'm Shiva over here, Samba Shiva over here, and along with me is Mamta. Now we have just replaced our Shuhas Prabhu. Hare Krishna and Dandavat Pranams to everyone. So because Prabhu just got stuck in some kind of a sort of a work, so we have been given this seva to replace him. Right, so let's try to understand what we have learned. We'll start with our session as usual with our Guru Pranam mantras. We'll offer our prayers to all our gurus, and then we'll also offer our prayers to our Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So all the teachings that we're going to discuss about is based on the teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. We all know, I'm sure we all know who's Srila Prabhupada. He's the founder Acharya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which is also called as ISKCON. Right. So let's quickly let's take another 2 minutes of our time here to learn the summary of all the chapters. I'm sure you people are aware of it. We just discussed a while. So we started with the first chapter. I'm sure we would have learned about the first chapter and what is the qualification or what is the main context that is required for anyone to understand Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate faith. And then we saw the observing of the army as to how both the armies were on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and all of a sudden something led to compassion. Arjuna was in full of compassion and he started lamenting, and he did not want to fight. He cast aside his bow and he did not want to fight. Then we moved on to the second chapter, which is the so-called entire summary of this particular Bhagavad Gita, or the Sarams of the Bhagavad Gita, which has been given by Lord Krishna. We saw what is the importance of the Guru, and then
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry for the interruption. The devotees are not able to hear you out. The sound is.
Okay, are you able to hear me, Mataji? Is it with everyone? Okay.
A bit more louder.
Is it loud and clear now?
It sounds better, but not so clear.
Okay, just give me a while. I'll just try to change the settings, maybe. What about it now, Mataji?
Yes, now better.
It's now better?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay. Okay, so we started off with the first chapter with faith. Then we saw the observing the army, that is compassion, lamenting, and then Arjuna did not want to fight at all. Then we saw the importance of the guru, where Krishna gave jnana about the body and the soul, and how to control the mind and the senses as well, and how to be a self-realized soul, and how one can renounce by still being in work in devotion, and then the person can renounce himself. Then in the third chapter, I'm sure we would have learned about the yoga ladders, the various yoga ladders, starting from the animalistic kingdom, where they do not do anything as such. Then there is something, the next level is the karma kanda section, and then we have something called as a sakama karma. Sakama karma is where you're doing a work, but at the same time you're attached to the fruits of the work and you're just working. Then we have something called as a nishkama karma, right? You're doing the work, but you are not attached to the fruit, but you're attached to the work. That is called as nishkama karma yoga. And then I'm sure you would have learned about jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and then finally the bhakti yoga. And finally, we would have understood in the 8th chapter that Bhakti Yoga is the best. And in the 4th chapter, I'm sure we would have learned about what is karma and what is akarma, the various types of karma, and so on and so forth. I'm not sure if we are able to hear. Okay, we see that it's not audible yet. It's because of the audio options selected. 1 second. Let me change the settings. Okay. Mataji, can you please confirm if it is now clear? Okay.
There's some sound disturbance.
Is there still a disturbance, Mataji? Because I'm using the microphone right now.
Now it's much better.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mataji. Okay, we see that it's very clear. Okay, thank you so much. Right. So then Krishna glorifies about the jnana and the process of transcendental knowledge. I'm sure we would have heard about what is transcendental knowledge, and we would have learned about what is action or renunciation as well. Then in the 5th chapter, that is karma, working in devotion as well, we would have learned about work in devotion is better or renunciation of work is better. We would have learned about who's a mithyachari and so on and so forth, how we can purify our body, mind, and senses without our desires. We would have learned about that. Then in the 6th chapter, then we would have learned about what you call the Ashtanga yoga part. We would have learned about what is mind and how mind can become a enemy and a friend. Chanchalam Himana Krishna, we would have learned about that. And then we would have also learned about how one takes to the path of Ashtanga yoga by shutting all their 8 senses over here, right? And then we would have also understood someone who gets success, what would happen, and someone who fails, what would happen, and who is the greatest of the yoginam ati sarvesham madgatena antaratmanaha. We would have learned about that in the 6th chapter. And then in the 7th chapter, we would have heard about hearing from the Lord, seeing him everywhere. And just now, just like one of the Prabhujis and Mataji confirmed on the call, there are 4 types of people who accept the Lord, and there are 4 types of people who reject the Lord. And we would have also learned about who's the best of the men among them. And in the 18th chapter, which is a most important chapter, how change, where we, most of us being in this particular material world, we are not bothered about the time of death, right? So we don't even worry about death. We understand that why are we bothered about death? When death comes, we will think about it. But remembering Krishna at the time of the death is very, very important, and it's the most difficult situation if we have not even been in bhakti at all throughout our life. And then we have seen Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram. Yesterday, I'm sure you would have learned about it, and how we can attain the supreme. And only with pure bhakti, that is Ananya Bhakti, we will be only able to attain the supreme, and then get into the spiritual world, and come out of this Maya, from the clutches of the Maya, which is the material world. And today we will learn the same thing, almost a similar thing, in this particular chapter, which is the 9th chapter, which is called as the most confidential knowledge, which is about which is iconed as or acronymed as king, right? One of our Prabhujis in ISKCON, called as Sutapadas Prabhu, has acronymed as king, KING. K is for knowledge. In the first section, or the first 3 verses, we'll see how Lord Shri Krishna gives us the knowledge about the Rajavidya Rajaguhyam, right? Guhyam means the most confidential knowledge. And then we will see from the 4th to the 10th verses in terms of the Lord's inconceivable relationships, or the energy, the so-called Achantya Bheda Bheda Tattva. And then we will see who are worshippers and non-worshippers, what would happen to them. And finally, we will conclude the chapter in the last section with the glories of bhakti. Right. So, for people who might be wondering what is all about, we are talking about bhakti. Bhakti. I'm sure you people know that the entire 18 chapter is divided into 3 sections. The first 6 chapters is about the karma yoga, and the middle 6 chapters are about bhakti yoga. So we are in the bhakti part of it, and the last 6 chapters are about the jnana yoga. So here we are learning about the pure bhakti. In this chapters tomorrow also will be bhakti yoga, where we will learn about chatur shloki, right? So in the 8th chapter, I'm sure we learned about Ananya Bhakti, right? Krishna explained about the Ananya Bhakta. What is Ananya? Unalloyed, who does not even deviate from his path of Krishna consciousness, or his attention towards the Lord. He's always serving the Lord. No matter what he does, he's always serving the Lord, right? He dovetails all his activities, and he keeps Krishna in the center of all his activities. And that's how Krishna explained in the 8th chapter as to how one can surpass from any particular stage, no matter whatever it is, if you are constantly doing those 9 aspects of devotional service. I hope we are aware of the 9 aspects of devotional service. Let me unmute you all. What are the 9 ways of devotional service? Can anyone just comment?
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Smaranam, Kirtanam,
Yes.
Padasevanam, Archanam.
Dasyam
Sa-
Satyam. Very good. Very
Yeah,
good. Thank you
yeah.
so much, Mataji. Thank you so
Thank
much. Hare
you.
Krishna. Hari Bol. Yes, so we are talking about the Navavida Bhakti, right? So we are talking about the Navavida Bhakti. So how we can start off with the Navavida Bhakti? At least to start off with hearing, right? Once you start hearing, you are cleansing, right? I'm sure you would have learned about the body of the chariot, how our body is called as the body of the chariot, or the chariot of the body, and how we control our mind by utilizing our intelligence, and how we can control our 5 senses, the sense objects, right? Here, by hearing, we purify our ears, right? By chanting, we purify our whatever, the tongue or the mouth. And then by smell, the smell is where by smelling the what you call flowers, or the essence, or the dhoop that is offered to the Lord, we purify our nose. And with the eyes, by looking at the Lord, we purify, or we control our senses. That is how we control all our senses, and we put into we focus on the shelter of the take shelter of the Lord, and focus on the lotus feet of the Lord. That's how it is. and the 8th chapter concluded with how the Lord is so supreme. So almost 7th chapter and 9th chapter are almost like identical. This is a conversation that is happening between Krishna and Arjuna, which we already know. It is almost in the similar lines. So here we will learn about the most confidential knowledge. So what was the, let me again open up the queue here. So what was the confidential knowledge that we learned in the 2nd chapter? Do we remember? Can anyone tell us what is the what you call the confidential knowledge we learned in the 2nd chapter?
Is it we are the
Prabhuji,
soul?
not body, and we are soul.
Yeah, we are the soul. And
Yes, perfect, perfect. We are the soul and we are not the body. That's what we have learned. And also, we have learned in terms of the more confidential knowledge. What was the more confidential knowledge we learned? And today we're going to learn the most confidential knowledge, right? And we will see how Krishna reciprocates over here through the most confidential knowledge. Yes, yes, Sri Vidya Mataji, Hare Krishna, please go ahead.
Hare
Please tell
Krishna.
us
Is
what
it the
was the
symptom of? Is it the symptom of soul, which is the conscious?
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Mataji. So that was a more confidential knowledge. Today is the most confidential knowledge. We're going to learn about it. I'll take your permission and mute you all again. Okay, so moving on, this is what we have learned, the confidential knowledge in terms of the body or the soul distinction. That was called as Guhya in 2nd chapter to the 6th chapter. That's what we have learned. And the more confidential knowledge is where the knowledge of bhakti, right? That is the Krishna Sambandha, that is called as the Guhyatara. That is the more confidential knowledge. And the most confidential knowledge is Kevala Bhakti. Kevala Bhakti is where here once we understand that we are just the soul and we are not the body, then we will start focusing on the Lord. And here what is happening is the more confidential knowledge. Now what happens in the more confidential knowledge, we try to start chanting and we try to focus on the lotus feet of the Lord, and we try to focus on the Paramatma within us, right? We try to focus on the Paramatma within us over here in the more confidential knowledge. And here in the most confidential knowledge, we go one level step, which is called as the Bhagwan realization, right? This is the Brahman realization, this is the Paramatma realization, and this is the Bhagwan realization. This was a 400 form of the Lord, and here we are talking about the Shyamashundara form of the Lord, where we have already realized, where we are in complete bhakti, and now the Lord will start reciprocating to our bhakti. That is the most confidential knowledge in this particular chapter, or the degrees we learn. Moving on, we will see what Lord Krishna is trying to explain in the first verse here. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam tu te guhyatamam pravikshami anasuyaya Vijnanam Vijnana Sahitam Yajgnatva Mokshasi Shubhat. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of this material existence. So, what is the problem? What are we talking about material existence here? So, we all are in this particular material world. I'm sure by now you people are aware as to why there is something called as a spiritual world and there is something called as a material world. And I'm sure you people are already aware as to why we are in this material world and what is the cycle we go through. There are 4 stages which we go through: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, and Vyadi. That is, we are born, then we grow, then we dwindle after some time, and then we get into disease, and then we die. And then how the soul transmigrates from one body to another, which we would have learned that yesterday in depth as well. So these are the 4 things which we go through, and how each soul goes through so many kinds of what you call lifetimes. I hope we remember the 8,40,000 species which we go through, right? We go through the circle of life. So here we are trying to understand, and the Lord is trying to give a clear explanation here, right? The 3 things. What are the 3 things the Lord is trying to explain in terms of this particular verse is, What is the qualification to receive this particular jnana? Right? He's trying to explain here. And what is the means to receive this? He's trying to explain about the proper hearing here, the most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence. So he's saying, what are the benefits? You will be automatically relieved from the miseries of this material existence. Anusuyave means free from envy. That is the first thing we established in chapter 1 with a little bit of faith, with a tinge of faith. And here also we are explaining almost the same thing. And by proper hearing, that is what the Lord is trying to explain here. Moving on. So this is the cycle of birth and death, Janma karma, right? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. If we are not serious in devotion, we will stay in this material world forever and ever and ever. This is a cycle, I'm sure we all are aware of this particular cycle. Right, in the King of the Knowledge, Lord is trying to explain further. This is one of the most important verses as well. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartumavyayam. This knowledge is the king of the education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of a religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. Right? So Lord is trying to explain, or rather further he's trying to glorify the most confidential information by saying Rajaguhyam. Guhyam means it's the most secret or the confidential knowledge. He's trying to explain here again and again. So what is he trying to explain here again and again? Let's try to understand the characteristics of this particular confidential knowledge. Rajavidya means it is the king of all the knowledges. That's what he's trying to explain. And Rajaguhyam, the most confidential knowledge or the secret of all secrets. Why it is the king of the knowledge? Because it is the essence of all the doctrines and the philosophy. Now, what do I mean by that? It's the essence of all the Upanishads that we have. It's the essence of all the Vedas that we have. It is the essence of all the Puranas also that we have. Right? There are various different philosophers which are there, like the Gautama philosophy, the Kapila philosophy, Yajnavalkya philosophy, Sandhilya philosophy, so on and so forth. There are many, and the Vedanta Sutra as well. So we will see in the closing of this particular chapter about the Vedanta Sutra, right? How Srila Vyasadeva has also narrated about it. So this is what the Lord is trying to explain here, that this is the king of all the knowledge. And Rajaguhyam, right? He's talking about the most confidential secret of all secrets. Why? Because this talks about the eternal activities of the soul. And that's how we are able to connect with the Paramatma feature within us, apart from just realizing the Brahman, and also trying to connect with the Bhagavan aspect as well. That is the reason it is called as the most or the Rajaguhyam, or the most confidential knowledge. Right? Today's philosophers, or the mundane knowledge, or the modern science, will not give all this complete knowledge. Right? It will not give all this complete knowledge, because there are so many assumptions we go through. I'm sure you would have learned about something called as a pratyaksha pramana. There are 3 pramanas, right? We would have learned about that. So why? Because we always go with the pratyaksha pramana, but here we are talking about the Vedas, or Bhagavad Gita is about the Shabda pramana. Shabda means the sound. We go through from the parampara system. I'm sure you would have learned in the 4th and the 5th chapter as to how we follow from the Lord Krishna, from Brahmaji, how Brahmamadeva Gauda Sampradaya, with the Sampradaya that we belong to, and how through the disciplic succession we have learned these entire chapter, and how Lord is trying to give us the essence of this. Pavitram, purest of the knowledge, because it goes through a disciplic succession. There is no concussion in this knowledge. Whatever knowledge has been given by our gurus, or by our Vaishnavas, we give the same knowledge here without adding or without any concoct this particular knowledge. Uttamam, why is it called as the Uttamam? Because it is transcendental. How is it transcendental? Because we are talking the aspects of the soul, right? We are talking about the aspects of the soul, and we are trying to connect with the yoga. What is yoga? Connecting it with the Lord. That is how we are talking the aspects of the Lord. Pratyakshavagaman dharmyam, perfection of the religion. We are talking about the perfection of the religion, which is, we are not talking anything in terms of the I, me, myself, which is the bodily platform. Rather, we are talking everything in terms about our soul and connecting to the Lord. There are two types of dharma. I'm sure you would have learned about it, which is the Nitya Dharma and the Swadharma. Nitya Dharma is what is the dharma of our soul, where we need to connect with the Lord, and what is our Swadharma is our prescribed duty. So here we are talking about Pavitram and Idam Uttamam and Pratyakshavagaman. Pratyakshavagaman is we are able to see the direct perception of the self-realization. Now, how is the direct perception of self-realization coming into picture? By today is the today is the ninth day. I'm sure in the last 8 days, many of you people who are new to this particular Bhagavad Gita courses, I'm sure you would have understood these 8 days and connected some way or the other, and you would have started something called as a chanting, right? And once you start chanting, you will understand the essence of chanting and the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and you will also try to understand or try to connect as to what is the essence of my birth here. Why am I born in this particular material world, which is called as Dukkhalayam, or the so-called jail? Why am I here? Is just to purify myself, purify my soul, myself, and cleanse myself, and the go back to Godhead. Susukham, very joyful, and avyayam, everlasting or eternal. That is exactly what we are trying to learn from this particular verse, or the Lord is trying to give these explanations, right? And this is the tattva of one who understands the king of this knowledge will automatically become very joyful and everlasting. It will remain forever. There is no chance of sort of a falling down. That is how the Lord is trying to explain that it will be so blissful, literally blissful. We will see certain examples as well, how Narada Muni was blissful as well. Right, we'll move on to the next verse over here. Then after Krishna explained these two verses, Arjuna started wondering, why is it so tough in accepting this blissful process, or the so-called joyful process? Oh Krishna, can you please explain us? If it is so eternal, and if it is so blissful, why is it so tough? He started wondering. Then Lord started explaining that there are certain prerequisites to understand this knowledge. What are the prerequisites to understand this knowledge? The third verse explains that. So those who are not faithful in this devotional service cannot attain me at all, O conqueror of enemies. That is what he's trying to explain to Arjuna. Therefore, they return to the path of birth and death in this material world, right? We in this material world, in the age of Kali Yuga, our mana is always chanchalam hi mana Krishna, right? So we are always chanchalam. We look for only temporary, or rather we always try to make everything permanent. Today we need a good job, we need a good salary, we need a good house, we need a good car, everything good. We want to make everything permanent, but we forget that we are in this material world, and this material world itself is temporary, right? Why temporary? The prakriti goes through various changes, which is, first it comes into picture, then again it goes into the so-called annihilation at the age of the at the time of at the end of the Brahma's day. Again it goes through annihilation. So in this particular verse, there are two qualifications which the Lord is trying to explain. Anusuyave, which is non-envious, which we learned from the first verse, and in this particular verse is trying to emphasize on the so-called word called as Shraddha, that is the faith. Why faith is very important? The little bit of faith is very, very important because that is the hope for perfection. If we do not have that very little faith in our path to Krishna consciousness, we will again come back to the path of birth and death. Even after hearing Krishna and even after hearing what is the procedures about it, if we are not able to take up the shelter of the Lord and take up the shelter of the Guru, then what is our destiny? We are bound to come back to the birth and death cycle. Literally, we are bound to come back to the birth and death cycle. So that is what Lord is trying to explain again and again here. That is the first level of the faith, and then the second level of faith here, and the lowest level of faith here. This is where Lord is trying to explain about the three types of people or the devotees here, which is the Uttamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, and the Kanishtadhikari. Maybe we will learn that in the advanced chapters. People who are aware of these terms. Uttama is somebody who's already at the highest level, who can understand the relationship between Brahman, all the three types of realization, and also can understand the relationship between our soul and the body and connect to the Lord. That is how we will be able to understand. By now, I'm sure you would have also learned about what is the most important aspect, where watering to the root is important, or watering to the branches and watering to the leaves are important. I'm sure you would have also learned about it. We will see that in some time now. Moving on to the fourth verse, where the Lord talks about himself in the fourth verse. Maya tatam idam sarvam jagadavhyaktamurtina matstani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavastitah. By me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So, this is what the Lord is trying to explain here in this particular verse.
Yes, so here Lord is saying that He is Avyayam, that is, He is eternally and He's everlasting. And also, word used over here is Aishwarya, which is Aishwaram, which is He's inconceivable. In this verse, that is in the fourth verse, they're talking about the Achintya Bheda Veda Tattva, where He is in the Vaikuntha planets and also in the spiritual world, and also he's all around us. You have seen how Krishna is Bhumirapo Nalo Vayuhu, so he's across all of us. And we'll also see in the future chapters where you will be able to realize that it's not that I have to see the God or I have to see Krishna only in the altar. I can see Krishna everywhere. We'll see that. So here we the Achintya Bheda Veda tattva is emphasized, where in the picture over here we are seeing that this is a very nice pastime where Krishna, that is Yashodamai, is actually called by both Balramji and also all his friends that look, what happened. Yashodamai comes running thinking, what happened, why is Krishna eating dirt? So he eats dirt in this particular Leela, where both Balramji and all of them go and complain to Yashodamai that look mama, look, we have Krishna who's eating dirt. Then both of them come running to see, and when they see, Yashoda Mai will look into his mouth and he'll see everything. She'll see everything around. So this is one of the times where Krishna will show the entire creation, and apart from seeing the creation, she will also see herself feeding Krishna. And when she's finding herself feeding Krishna, she would feel, am I seeing the right thing? Is it really something that's true? And she closes her eyes and she kinds of goes off to trance, and she doesn't remember what happens after that. So this is a very beautiful leela that comes across during the Krishna's pastimes. And here what are we trying to see? So Krishna is trying to establish that by me, my unmanifested form, the entire universe is pervaded and all beings are in me, that is nachaham tesha vavastitaha, but I'm not in them. So it's just trying to the verse is trying to establish that he's there in the unmanifested and in the manifested universes, and he's all pervading. How is he all pervading? In the form of Paramatma, he's inside us, and also he's all around us in the form of unmanifested form, which is Bhumira Punalavayu, all of the other entities.
Yeah, for example, all the planetary systems are floating in the space, right? We, in our modern science technology, we might think something else, but however, if we see, the entire planets are floating in the space, and he's the one who's holding, right? Sutre Maigana, we would have learned that particular verse as well. How he's like the pearls is holding on to each other, right? We will see that. And also, he's the energy, as just now Mataji said, he's there in the Vaikuntha Loka, and he's there in the material world as well within us as a Paramatma, as a we are the Anu and he's the Vibhu. He's there in everywhere, and that is it is his unmanifested form. Why it's called as an unmanifested form? Because he's unborn, he's eternal, always is unborn. We are born, we have a birth and a death cycle, but he doesn't have a birth and a death cycle. That is how it is. I'm not sure if we would have learnt about the Goloka chart. If we have not learnt about the Goloka chart, we will see in the Goloka chart how in the form he expands himself into Balramji, and then from there into the four Chaturvyuhas, and then he expands into Mahavishnu, right? And then from the Vishnus he forms into three Vishnus, and that is exactly how he's there within us as the Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So that's how we can understand. So he's placed everywhere, but at the same time he says, but I am not within them. That is how we will be able to understand this particular verse.
And also, this is a pastime about how we need to have faith when we are reading the scriptures. So, once Narada Muni was actually, we'll see about how Narada Muni was not qualified, but still how he could attain the supreme. So the first time, what happens is that Narada Muni was actually a Gandharva. He was along with the Gandharva. He was performing the dance along with the Gandharvas. You know, Gandharvas are usually dancing and singing and to the Lord for the pleasure of Lord. And Narada Muni was a bit lost while he was playing the music, and the sages look at this and then they curse him. When he gets this curse, he falls down to the material world, and when he falls to the material world, he was born to a Shudrani. So because he was very fortunate that Krishna also makes this arrangement that, you know, whenever you are having faith in the supreme, the faith is not lost. You might forget, we might forget what we have actually prayed for, but Krishna never forgets. So here, even though he falls into the material world, he falls into a Shudrani who is actually in a hermitage where all the sages come through. So all the sages, while they're walking and they're coming through to, usually sages don't stay in any place. So this was a Chaturmasya time where all the sages, they come back and they stay in this particular place, and they're staying in this particular place, and in this hermitage we have all the sages who rest for almost 4 months. And while doing that, Narada Muni is serving the sages, and because he's a Shudrani's child, he serves the sages. And he was fortunate to receive this knowledge where they were discussing about Krishna Katha all the time. You know, all the sages are very, very knowledgeable and intelligent, where they will always discuss about Krishna. And fortunately, he was there around them, and he requests, if you don't mind, can I also listen to the pastimes of what you're discussing? And he was fortunate enough to hear the first Shravanam that we learned today in the first shloka. The Shravanam is so important that he heard the stories and pastimes of Krishna, and he gets this ruchi of hearing these stories. And after listening to them, he was fortunate that while the 4 months get over, before that he was also he requested the sages, can I also have the uchishra, that is, can I have the remnants of their food stuff? So when they left the remnants with their permission, he asked, can I also take the with your permission, can I accept these remnants, if you don't mind? Then after eating them, his heart completely gets cleansed. So we saw that, you know, if we want to hear and get the ruchi for Krishna Katha, we should not be envious, and also we should not have any contaminations in our heart. So that's one of the basic qualities that we have to remove the contaminations of our heart. So Narada Muni was able to remove these contaminations by taking the remnants of the great sages or the Bhakti Vedantas who were at the hermitage. How we to do that? By chanting, we can cleanse our heart to listen to the glories of the heart, glories of Krishna. And here he takes the remnants and he gets his heart immediately gets cleansed after taking the remnants, and he was able to serve the Bhakti Vedantas. And while because he served so nicely to all the Bhakti Vedantas and heard all the orders, and Bhaktivedanta also noticed that he was not like any normal child. He was listening to them very carefully, and he was not playing and wasting his time in other mundane things. Looking at this while leaving, they gave him this benediction of how to pray Krishna. They gave this secret of how to pray Krishna. By listening to this secret, he was able to remember all of this, and eventually Lord makes the arrangement that his mother gets bitten by a snake, and then later he moves on to be in the as a sage. He was there in the jungle, and then Krishna gives him a small glimpse of him he gives, and then he says, I'm coming and I'm giving you this, but then I will not come back once again. Once you're completely cleansed, you can come back to me. So hence, thereafter, he goes on to a penance for a very long time. After doing a lot of austerities and penances, he attains to the supreme by going back to Godhead. So this is how in 3 lifetimes he was able to go back to Godhead. So what are we to understand here? We have to understand that faith is very, very important, and the qualification to pray Lord is not that one has to be born into a superior family or inferior, nothing like that. One has to have the supreme faith that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and this will ensure that we go back to Godhead.
And that's how it will become Susukham and Avyayam, blissful and eternal as well, everlasting, eternal as well.
Yes.
Right, so moving on to the next one, we will try to see as to how he becomes the supreme director over the inconceivable relationships. And yet, everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintenance of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not a part of this cosmic manifestation. For myself is the very source of the creation. Right? We know that he is the seed-giving father. Right? We will also learn about it in a later context in terms of how he's the seed-giving father and how he is the maintainer, right? Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Suhurdam Sarvabhutanam. We have also learned about that. So, how he is the controller, how he is the proprietor, and how he is the maintainer of everything, where he takes care of all the planets rest on him, right? He takes care of all the material worlds, he takes care of all the what he calls spiritual world as well, and everything rests in me. And with that, how do we understand this? By constantly hearing this, and by the devotional service. Once we get into the sort of a devotional service, that's where we will understand how he's a part of the cosmic manifestation and how he's the source of each and every creation. And this is very tough for us to understand with our mundane senses, because I'm sure you would have learned, because we are born with 4 defects, right? We are literally born with 4 defects, so it's very tough to understand for us. Once we understand the tattva about the Lord a little bit further, once we get into the madhyama stage and we start focusing on the Lord and start chanting and constantly doing our swadhyaya or learning Bhagavad Gita every day, slowly we will be able to realize. That's how we'll become a sthita pragya, which we learned in the 2nd chapter. We'll become a steady soul, and slowly we will become a self-realized soul as well. You'd like to talk about the analogy of the sun and the...
Yes. So in the next verse, we get to see that here Krishna is talking about in the 6th verse we see about the inconceivable relationship where we go deeper. Inconceivable is like achintya bheda bheda. This is it is really inconceivable to understand how Krishna is in everything. He's in each and every single atom, and also he is all pervading, and also he is the supreme who is controlling everything. So here we have to understand that as a mighty wind blowing everywhere, rests always in the sky, all created beings rests in me. So what is Krishna trying to establish over here? Here Krishna gives an analogy for Yoga Maishwaryam, where sky and the wind. He's giving an analogy of a sky and the wind. How is it? Sky is the biggest manifestation to conceive. In that sky, wind is actually the biggest to conceive. Where wind is the great, and its influences of the it is influencing the movements of the wind. However, it's always a subordinate to the sky. So wind is actually subordinate to the sky. However, in the same way, sky is the Lord and wind is actually the cosmic manifestation. This is how we need to understand that Krishna is actually the supreme Lord who is like the sky, and also the wind who is the cosmic manifestation. So he's actually the cosmic manifestation himself also. So he is not only controlling this, also he himself is actually the cosmic manifestation also. So this is how we have to understand. But also of all the things, even though he is controlling by being the supreme Lord, and also he is the all pervading in the form of wind, he's still aloof of all of this. Like he's unaffected of all of this, and he's not affected because it's actually the wind. So he's trying to, that's why this tattva is called as achintya beda beda. It requires some some
Degree of
degree of
understanding.
understanding, and it's when we understand Krishna, it's like you have understood everything. So it's a bit it requires some intention for us to completely surrender to Krishna and have that supreme faith for us to see Krishna everywhere. The faith is the most important part, where we understand the achintya beda beda also.
So moving on, we'll see the Supreme Director, same thing, Veda Veda Tattva, inconceivable relationships. The whole cosmic order is under me, under my will. It is automatically manifested again and again, and under my will, it is annihilated at the end, right? I'm sure we would have learned about the entire cosmic manifestation. We would have learned about the 14 planetary systems, right? We learnt about Bhurbhaswaha, and then we learnt about Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, Patala. We learnt about the 7 things. If we would have not learned, don't worry. We will see the entire what you call, right? We will see the entire Goloka chart once again. If we have not learned, do not worry about it. Right. Somebody is asking, as per the Mahabharata, all the Yadavas are killed along with Krishna. Is it true or not? We will take this particular question at a later point of time. That is how we understand with our senses and with our knowledge. But once we learned Bhagavad Gita and once we learned in the Bhagavatam, it is clearly explained what has happened to Krishna, right? Whether he's killed or whether he leaves this particular material world, what was the reason for he leaving the material world, that's what is explained in Bhagavatam. That is where we will try to understand. So here Lord is trying to explain the living entities are, how the living entities are impregnated by his glance through the what we call, through the Maya potency, which is the material nature. That is how Mahavishnu glances through glances at the Prakriti. Prakriti is nothing but Mahamaya, and through the agency of Shambhu, that is Lord Shiva, that is the entire Mahatattva is formed. Mahatattva is the unmanifested form over there, and that's how the unmanifested form means inactive. Just assume that there was a annihilation that has happened, right? At the end of the Brahma day, the annihilation happened, and after the annihilation, what would happen? All the souls rest in the body of the Lord Vishnu, right? And then what happens again? Mahavishnu gives a glance at the end, at the beginning of the day of the of Brahmaji. Then when Brahmaji is born again at the beginning of the day, again the living beings come into picture. How does it come into picture? Mahavishnu glances at the what you call, glances via the agency of Shambhu through to Prakriti, that is to what you call, through the Mahamaya. And once it does, the entire thing is impregnated. The jivas are impregnated and it becomes active. Then the modes come into picture. What are the modes? The goodness, right? The passion and the ignorance comes into picture. And then all the karmas which we have done, all those also become active, and that's how we are born. We take the body over here, and that's how our body is formed based on our karmas that we have done. And that is exactly what Lord is trying to explain with the all the living entities over here based on their past deeds. Either we'll become men, women, animals, beasts, birds, and so on and so forth. We will take each of this particular species based on what we have done. So this is how Lord is trying to explain how he is supreme, how he is present everywhere, and he does not have any direct presence or direct involvement over here, but he does everything and anything. Without his effort, nothing moves, not even a blade of a grass moves here. That's how we need to understand how he's a part of the creation and how he's a part of the annihilation here. Moving on further, this is the same thing, inconceivable relationship, which he's trying to explain. Oh Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. I'm ever detached from all these material activities, seated as though neutral. That is what Lord is trying to explain here. The emphasis of Udasina Vat means he is as good as he is neutral. Udasina Vata. In the Shantarasa, he's always in the Shantarasa. He does not act anything. While he's acting, he's in the neutral. So that is where Lord is trying to explain, gives an analogy about how he is a neutrality. Just like what we see in a court proceedings, what happened, right? The high court judge is involved, right? He gives many and many decisions, but easy in favor of anyone, easy favor of the culprit or easy favor of the crime? No, he doesn't. He is in a neutral state. He doesn't get affected, or he's literally unaffected. Why? For him there is neither there any gain or not any loss. Similarly here, Lord takes care of the entire spiritual world as well as the material world, and for him he does not interfere in anything at all based on the past deeds and our desires. That's how we take up a body. That is how we need to understand from this particular verse. Right, this is again almost a similar way of inconceivable relationship. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, right? We know that this is material nature is one of his energy as well, right? And is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving, chara and achara, moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So we go through the stages of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, annihilated again and again, and annihilated again and again. So that is how the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is trying to explain how he is neutral, how he is aloof, how he is the sanctioner. Remember, we spoke about the three people. One is we. What do you call, we try to desire for something, and who sanctions? The Paramatma sanctions, the Supreme Personality of God sanctions. And who does the activity? He gives the importance, or he gives the information to that is the Prakriti, and Maya Devi does the entire activity. But at the same time, Lord is completely detached here. So we are trying to understand in this particular section how Lord is completely neutral. However, he is the controller, he is the maintainer, but he is taking care of the entire creation and destruction, and he takes care of, at the end of all millennium, he takes care of the manifestation and the unmanifestations of the entire Krishna's energy. Tomorrow we will see the Lord's potencies in terms of the 10th chapter, how he spread everywhere. We will try to understand, and how he takes care of the Purusha avatars. We see there are many Purusha avatars which he takes, Guna avatars, Leela avatars which he does. Everything is taken care of by him, but at the same time he is unaffected. Just like what Mataji explained, the wind and the sky doesn't get mixed with each other. We think that it is gets mixed with each other, like the entire universe is covered with the sky, but the wind and the sky doesn't get mixed with each other. Similarly, the Lord doesn't get mixed with anything, but however he is available in anything and everything, right? So here immediately what you call, Arjuna started asking a question. He started wondering, then if this is the case, after knowing all these things, why some people don't respect you, Krishna? Why they don't respect you as the Supreme Personality of Godhead? I'm really wondering as to why they don't respect you at all. So this is where he tries to explain as to fools deride me, avajananti mam mudha manushim tanumashritam param bhava ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. Right? We know how he came in the Dwapara Yuga as a Lord Krishna. Right? How he came. Why? Because they lack that knowledge. They think that he has a material body. Because he came to this particular body, because he came to this material world, fools think that he has a material body just like we humans or any particular living entity. But is he a material body? Does he have a material body? No. His nature is completely transcendental. What is transcendental? Beyond the material world, which is spiritual in nature, and that is how he has come as transcendental yogam aishwaryam. That is how he is called. So how do we understand this? Can we easily understand this? No. With our senses, with our imperfect senses, we cannot understand this tattva. We have to take the shelter of a guru. Once we take the shelter of a spiritual master, the spiritual master will be able to enlighten us. And also, if we take the association of a pure devotees, we will be able to understand the tattva about Krishna, that he is the supreme personality of Godhead. And how would that happen, that he is the supreme personality of Godhead? Only with a tinge of faith and with a complete surrender. Once we completely surrender, we'll be able to focus our senses on the lotus feet of the Lord, and that's how we will understand that how he is the supreme personality of Godhead. There are three aspects which we need to understand here: jananti, ajananti, and avajananti. Jananti means that is understanding, knowing about the Lord, and ajananti means just after knowing everything, we are still trying to be in the ignorance of Lord Krishna. What would happen? We will definitely continue with the birth and death cycle. We will get into the same birth and cycle. And what is avajananti? And that is where the Lord is trying to explain here with the term is avajananti mamudha. Avajananti means after knowing everything, the fools still deride me, means the misunderstanding they have about the Lord. And that is how it will increase their bondage. Why? Because they are in the mode of passion, they are in the mode of ignorance, and that is how they get into the greatest of the sufferings, and also they will get into the greatest of the miseries, which we will see in the next verse. Moghasha mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasah rakshashim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinam shritah. Those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are totally defeated. So, what is the destination of such offenders? So, Krishna is trying to give the information here. We are going into the lower planets because it's defeated. So, the picture which we see here, Shishupal, a classic example of Shishupal, right? Classic example we also see is Hiranyakashipu. In spite of Lord Prahlada, who was his own son at the age of 5 years old, after explaining him so much that there is something called as Lord Krishna, there's someone by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, still Hiranyakashipu thought that he is the Supreme Personality. Right? Why does this happen? Because moghasha mogha karmano, because they are attracted by demoniac and atheistic. What are demoniac and atheistic? Rakshashim asurim chaiva, they are in that particular mode. They demoniac, we will learn in almost in 14th and 15th chapters, where we will see how they have those 6 features. Anger, right? They are in the mode of ignorance, anger, always anger, right? So we will learn about that. And what would happen? You will get into the mode of entanglement, and that is how we are binded in the material nature. Moving on. So who are the ones then who respect Krishna? Can you please tell me, O Lord Krishna? That's what Arjuna started wondering, and this is where Lord will try to explain in this verse, in the 13th verse. That is where he says, these are not the atheistics or the duratmas, they are not the mudhas, right? We learnt about all these things in the 7th chapter. I hope we remember. right? But these are called as the Mahatmas. Now we need to understand who is a Mahatma. Mahatma is somebody who's already situated in the protection of the divine nature, who's almost taken the transcendental, who has surrendered to the lotus feet of the Lord, who surrendered to the spiritual guru. महात्मानास्तु मां पार्थ दैवीं प्रकृतिमाश्रितः भजन्ति अनन्यमनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिम् अव्ययम्. Right? Daivim Prakritim. It means he has already taken the divine nature. Mahatmanastu Mam Partha. Who are they? And who are they? Bhajanti Ananya Manaso. O son of Pritha. Those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. What are they? They are completely surrendered and they are fully engaged in devotional service. Why? Because they know me, that I am the supreme personality of Godhead, and I am the original and I am the inexhaustible. They don't concoct anything at all over here, right? We have seen many, right? Srimati Radharani, who's the topmost of the devotee, right? We need to understand who's Radharani. Radharani is the potency of the Lord, right? Who is the potency of the Lord, and she is a person, right? She is the bhakti personified, right? She is the bhakti shakti of the Lord. And how do we understand this? This is exactly what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that is Lord Krishna, came in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the age of Kali Yuga just 500 years back, and he tried to give the essence of bhakti, and bhakti shakti he tried to give. And who's the bhakti shakti? It is Srimati Radharani, and that is a position we need to understand over here. And who would understand that? The Mahatmas understand that. How do the Mahatmas understand that? Because they are always chanting the glories of the Lord. They are deeply immersed. Why they are deeply immersed? Because they have already attained Daivim Prakritim, which is the divine nature. How they have attained it? Because they are under the guidance of a spiritual master. Who's a spiritual master? Because he's already a self-realized soul. How is a self-realized soul? Because he has a Daivi Prakriti as well. That is how we need to understand this particular verse. He understands that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and that is how we will see in the next words what would happen. What are the activities of these Mahatmas? We'll try to see. How can we recognize such personalities is what Arjuna is trying to wonder, and Lord Krishna explains here. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridvrataha namasyantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with great devotion. Kirtayantaha, always chanting, dridvrataha, right? They are steady, fixed with a fixed vow, right? Namasyanta means always offering the obeisances. Ashtanga pranama, Shastanga pranama, right? Nitya yukta, what is Nitya yukta? Which is always engaged. Ananya Bhakta, they are always Ananya Bhakta, always chanting the glories of the Lord. These are all we see here in this. Srila Prabhupada, at the age of 70 years, when we all think of retiring at 35-40 years, he started his tenure only at the age of 69-70 years in the extreme cold winter. He boarded the ship Jaladuta and he went to the west. Why? With the orders of his spiritual masters, because he wanted to spread the Krishna consciousness. And that is how he was always chanting the glories of the Lord, and the Lord took him as an instrument. He utilized him as an instrument, and now today we see how many ISKCON temples worldwide. And what do? We teach only the essence of Bhagavad Gita without any concussion. Purely we are trying to do that. And he was completely a Dridhavrataha and always engaged in the glories of the Lord, always bowing down before me, perpetually worshipping with devotion. These are those. Remember Navavidha Bhakti, you can always get engaged once you are doing. How do we get engaged? Today is Ekadashi. I'm not sure how many of us are fasting on this particular Ekadashi. These are the very small things which we can do. How? Waking up early in the morning, sleeping early, always thinking about the Lord. Whatever activities we do, if you are doing, if you are cooking food, think about the Lord. And that's how the food is getting transcendental. It's become spiritual food. Whatever work you're doing, oh Lord, I'm doing this work, right? I'm doing this work only for you. I'm sure you will take care of whatever the results of this particular work. That's how you will be. I see that there are some hands raised. I'm not sure. Is it because we are, if it's relevant, we can take this question. Yes. Uh, Sohan,
Sohan.
please go ahead.
Hello, Guruji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Sorry to interrupt you, because when you are telling all these slokas, please give real-time examples. So for example, yesterday Sohas gave the like a, butterfly example. So when you keep chanting Krishna, automatically how it will become Krishna consciousness. So when you explaining these things, please relate to sometime real-time example, so that we can easily understood the concept.
Perfect,
That's what
Prabhuji.
I
Perfect.
raised this.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Okay, so when we are chanting just now, just like the way I was explaining, what would happen? People might be wondering, why are these ISKCON people or Krishna conscious people emphasize so much on chanting? I'm not sure if we have learned about the body of the chariot. Have we learned about the body of the chariot, Prabhu? Or the chariot of the body? Like our,
No, Prabhupada.
okay, our entire body is like a chariot, right? In a chariot, we have a driver and a passenger who's sitting, and there are the five horses. The five horses are like our senses, right? We have our sense perceptions. Now, what are the senses? We have eyes, ears, right? We have tongue. So, what would happen with this chanting? When you're chanting, you're purifying your senses. How are you purifying your senses? You are listening to it. And why are you chanting? You at the same time you're looking at the Lord. You're focusing your mind on the Lord. That's how you're purifying your eyes as well. You're not thinking about anything else. What do I have to do in my office? Right? What do I have to do for my wife or for my friend or for my husband? We are not thinking about that. Rather, we are focusing on it. That's how we are taking everything and focusing on to the lotus feet of the Lord. That is how we will be able to get in terms of chanting. That is the essence of chanting. That's why we say start chanting, start chanting. And when you're counting the beads, you're counting the beads as well. You're keeping a count of it. And that is why I was saying a while ago, when you're cooking food, you chant. While that chanting might not count, but you start chanting it. How would that help? If I start chanting, what would help with that food? The food will automatically become transcendental. And whatever food that we are cooking, offer it to the Lord, which we will see that today in the upcoming verses. So moving on, why are we doing all this Mahatmas, and what is the essence of all this? Because the object of worship. Who's the object of worship? It is the supreme personality of Godhead. Pitaham asya jagato mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram omkara riksama yajurevacha. So here Lord is trying to explain the essence, saying, I'm the father of this universe. I'm not only father, but I'm the mother of this universe as well, right? I'm the supporter. He's the grandsire, and he's the object of the knowledge. He's the purifier. He's the syllable Om, and he is almost the Vedas as well, the four Vedas, Samaveda, Yajurveda, and everything. He's trying to explain that he's the Dhata, he's the purifier, he's the Omkara, and he's the essence of all the Vedas. So, what do we understand from this particular verse? That he is the sacrifice. All the sacrifices that we do, he is the bhoktaram. Whatever yajna we do, he is the yajna purusha. That is what we need to understand. The next verse also explains the same thing. I'm the goal, I'm the sustainer, he's the master, he's the witness, he's the board, the refugee, and the most dear friend. I'm the creation and the annihilation. I'm the basis of everything and the resting place and the eternal soul as well. So he's trying to explain that how the entire manifestation, how the entire unmanifestation takes place, how the entire cosmic manifestation, annihilation takes place, and how he's the sarva karana karanam, how he's eternally the cause of all causes. how he is the basis of everything. Tomorrow we will see anything and everything that is there around, how he is the sustainer, how he is the master, right? How is the witness? How is the witness? Because he's there in everyone's heart. How he is the master? Because he is the supreme ruler, he is the Paramatma, right? That's how we need to understand. And how is the ultimate goal? Because we need to take shelter of the Lord. And how he is the Suhrita? Because he is our best friend, he is giving instructions within, and we forget to understand those. So it is very easy whether we want to choose a staircase or we would want to choose a elevator after understanding all the energies of the Lord or the glories of the potencies of the Lord. Moving on, again he tries to explain the object of worship. O Arjuna, I give the heat and withhold the send forth of the rain. Right? I'm immortality and I'm also death personified. Both spirit and the matter are within me. I'm sure you would have learned in the third chapter in the Karma Kanda section, that is the Anyat Bhavanti, right? Bhutani. You learned about how the rains come in. In the modern science, we learn that the evaporation takes place and so on and so forth, and that's how the rains come in. No, that's not how the rains come in. But as per the Shastras, the rains come in from the food grains and then from the sacrifices that happens. And that is how, again, the cycle, I'm sure you would have learned in the third, fourth, and the fifth chapter, the cycle of sacrifices, how everything comes into picture, how he is the death personified and how he is both the spirit and the matter. He is there in the spiritual world, he is there in the Vaikuntha planets, and how he is there everywhere. For those who remember him, he is the immortality, but those who forget him, he is the death. That is how it is. So Srila Prabhupada very well, he gives an analogy here of a cat and a kitten, right? A cat and a kitten. For example, the cat catches holds of the kitten in the mouth, but at the same time, when the cat wants to pounce on something and eat, you uses the same mouth and the same teeth to eat that particular rat. But at the same time, here the Lord is trying to explain that how he can be a death personified for a asurim bhava person, and how he can be a very good supporter or a maintainer or a controller for a person or a devotee of the Lord. Moving on, those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious or heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delight. So Lord is trying to explain about the demigod worship here. So Lord is trying to say, doing demigod worship is not, well, while we understand, he's not saying demigod worship is incorrect here, one way or the other, but directly he's trying to say, you people are trying to play the demigods over here, but directly or indirectly you're praying to me. But the more the path you take, you are taking to the shelter of the demigods over there, because you have a material desire. So when we pray to the demigods, we gonna get what you call, whatever fruitful desires that we have, we gonna get them. But if we pray to the Lord, what Lord will do? Lord also give those desires, but at the same time he will filter or he will cleanse those desires. When we do something called as Nishkama Karma Yoga, we do not look for any desires as such, because Lord purifies them. So those who pray to the demigods will reach to their particular planets, is what Lord trying to explain them. We will see that in the upcoming verses. So when they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasures, what would happen? A man who is praying, a human who prays to the demigods, will ultimately reach to their planets. But at the same time, when we try to pray to Lord Krishna, we will try to go back to Godhead. There is no more birth and death cycle, is what Lord is trying to explain in the 20th and the 21st verse here. So this is a particular verse. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. That's what Lord is trying to explain here.
Yes, here what happens is we have kept a picture of a devotee who is actually, we have this pastime where Lord Krishna and also Balramji would have visited this particular devotee, and when he visited him, he was writing his script. He was reading the scriptures very closely and writing his commentaries. And while he was writing the commentaries, all of a sudden he finds this word Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, and he will say that I preserve what they have. So when he says this Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, how come Vahamyaham? How can Krishna himself be present in that place and I preserve is not possible? Krishna himself cannot come and preserve is what he thought. So actually, he was at home. What happens is in his wife would have told, Mataji would have told, you can you'll have to go and get something to cook because I don't have any grocer at home. Can you please get something to cook? Because in those days, even the all the devotees devotees used to go and get food stuff from food grains from others. Brahmanas used to take food grains from others, and then by taking alms they used to cook food. And it was in the ages where people were not giving enough alms, and because of this he was feeling that maybe Krishna himself cannot come and take care by himself, is what he was thinking in his mind, although he didn't conclude. And while he was doing that, he just scratched the word Yogakshemam Vahamyaham, which is I preserve what they have. And he said, okay, let me go take a shower and come back. So it's going to be Sandhya, let me go take a shower and come back, he says, and he goes out. And both Krishna and Balramji, they just visit this place, that is, they visit the Mataji when the devotee is not around, they visit. And when they visit them, he will see that the both of them would have got all the grocery required for the house, and they deliver all the grocery that's required for the house. And when they deliver it, they will see that Krishna himself comes to deliver all the grocery. And Mataji will think that, okay, actually they've just come to deliver, and then who are you, why are you both over here? Then when Mataji asked, they will say that our guru told that there is no grocery in the house, and that's why we came to deliver all of this grocery. And when they receive all of this grocery, they will be when Mataji asked them, how come you're both here, and why is the your guru is not over here? Then he said, no, our guru told quickly deliver this and come back, otherwise he will chastise us, so we want to go back. And while they were going back near the door, Mataji will see that, oh, you have this scratch. Where did you get this scratch out of your body and all that? He'll have two scratches. There's one boy who's bluish who has two scratches, and she'll ask, who gave you this? How did he get hurt? Then both of them will say that, oh, we need to run away because Prabhuji will, I mean, our guru will come anytime. I was actually, hurt this way by the guru because I was not doing certain activities, and immediately they run away from the house. And then this devotee comes back and he'll ask, what happened? How did this all occur? That you sent all of this grocery and you have been chastising your own disciples so badly that you hurted your own disciples? Then he'll ask, no, no, I didn't even do anything like that. I didn't send any boys. I didn't send any devotees to home to get any grocery. Then he goes back to see that the scratch that was there was actually is the reason why Krishna gets hurt on his back. And then he connects that, yes, Krishna himself comes to deliver, so those boys were Krishna and Balram who came to deliver personally. So it proves here that Krishna comes personally to help the devotees. So this is how he takes Yogakshemam Vahamyam, he himself delivers the devotees, is what we need to understand.
Yeah, so this is a merciful protection of the Lord, is what we need to understand. So one who becomes fully conscious in Krishna consciousness, the Lord will reciprocate.
Mahatmas.
This is the most confidential knowledge which we are learning from this particular chapter. So moving on, this is what here those who are devotees of other gods and who worship them with faith actually worship only me, O son of Kunti, but they do so in a wrong way. That is what Lord is clearly explaining here. So this is a particular pastime about Govardhana. I'm sure everyone is aware of the Govardhana pastime. what happened to Indra when he was 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days at the age of 7 days, right? He lifted the entire Govardhana hill. Because why he did that? Because the entire Braja Bhumi or the Vrajavasis were all pure devotees of the Lord. So they don't have to do any particular yajnas or sacrifices over there, just like what Indra was pressurizing or looking forward. And then Indra plundered with a lot of showers, rain showers, and thunders, and so on and so forth things. But at the same time, Lord came to protect his devotees. That's what we try to understand from this particular verse. And here, Lord is trying to explain. This is what I was going to say. Yanti deva vrata devan pitrin yanti pitrivrataah bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajino apimam. So here Lord is clearly establishing those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Always remember, the demigods are also in this particular material world, right? And those who worship the ancestors will go to the ancestors, and those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings. Bhutani anti bhutejya. And those who worship me will live with me. That is what the Lord is trying to explain, the destination as per our worship here. So moving on, he tries to explain here that how bhakti, the process of bhakti, is so simple. He tries to say, if we are not able to do this, what we have to do is what Lord is trying to explain, and the following verses also he will explain. How is that? Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhakti upaharitam ashnami prayatatmanaha. If one offers me, right, with if one offers me with love and devotion, what he has to offer? A leaf, a flower, a fruit, or a water, I will accept it. Right? These are the four things the Lord is trying to clearly explain. Right? He is clearly explaining here, avoid offering that which is undesirable and not asked for. Right? He's clearly saying, example, patram pushpam phalam toyam, you offer all these things, not anything and everything. Why? This is exactly what I was trying to explain a while ago. In terms of whatever food we cook, please offer to the Lord. Right? He will make it spiritual. The food becomes spiritualized, and the prasadam which we take, slowly it will, whatever contamination is there within us, it will, the slowly the contamination will go through. So we will, our consciousness, it will elevate our consciousness as well. And that is how we will able to understand how Krishna is establishing here himself, that he is not only the enjoyer, but he is a primeval Lord as well. And what else is he trying to establish here? That he is the object of worship, and he is the Yajna Purusha as well, the sacrifice for all the offerings that we offer. So what should one do if one is not able to perform pure devotional service? That is what Arjuna is asking the Lord over here. If you're not able to do, are there any other processes? Is what Arjuna is trying to explain. So let's try to see what Krishna will try to say. Yat karoshi yadashnashi yajjuhoshi dadashi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kuru swamadarpanam. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, and whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. He's saying, he's trying to emphasize on the Nishkama Karma Yoga. So don't even think about any material desires. Whatever you do, just think about me. Whatever you offer, always ensure that you offer to me, so that it is cleansed automatically. So he's trying to talk about all the Navavida Bhakti, the how we can do Archanam, right, so on and so forth, how we can get into austerity. All those things he's trying to say with Ashnani. Moving on, this is what he's trying to explain. In essence, he talks about work is needed even for bodily maintenance. Remember, we spoke about a Swadharma and a Nitya Dharma, prescribed duties and the soul duties. Soul duties is to connect with the Lord, and prescribed duties is whatever duties we do, the religious duties. These are the four Varnashramas. As per our Varna and Ashrama, we follow them. I'm sure we learned about Varnas and Ashramas. We do it only for Krishna. And what do we eat? We only prasadam, Krishna prasadam we eat. And charity, what is the sort of a charity we do? Utilize for furthering Krishna consciousness. Austerity, what kind of austerity we do? We meditate on Krishna 24 hours by chanting on the beads. Result of performing Nishkama Karma Yoga, it comes connecting with our activities with the Lord's service. Right. So that is where Lord is trying to explain here that is he's neither biased nor partial towards anyone. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshosti na priyaha ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mai te tesha chapiyaham. This is where he's trying to say that I do not envy anyone. I'm partial to anyone. So he's talking about his dealings. So once we get into the full bhakti, how he reciprocates, he's not partial to any living entity. He's trying to emphasize that here. And this is a particular pastime, apicheto so duracharo bhajante mam ananya bhakt. So this is one of a devotee who used to take care of who used to do all abominable actions, but however he was purified. How he was purified? Because on the what you call on the advice of Srila Narada Muni, he started to get into chanting and he started doing into bhajante ma mananya bhak. No matter whatever abominable activity he did, the Lord tried to protect him. This is what he is trying to explain. So he will take us out of from the ocean of the sufferings. He quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotees will never perish. No matter whatever, if we have taken the path of devotion, there is no way that we will perish, is what Lord is trying to explain. We can see the pastime of Bhishma as well, how the Lord was there and finally Bhishma left his body. Right. Here again the glories of bhakti comes into picture, how Prahlada, the baby Prahlada was into in terms of taking the shelter of the Lord no matter what, how much ever torture he was gone into, and still he ensures that he's taken the shelter of the Lord. Ananya Bhakta he was. And in the last words, the Lord is trying to explain the essence, and the essence or the most confidential information. This is the particular verse which gets repeated in the 18th chapter as well. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshyashi yuktavyam atmanam matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me, become my devotee. Offer obeisances to me and worship me, being completely absorbed in me. Surely you will come to me without fail. That is what Lord is trying to say. How observing oneself in Krishna consciousness is the only essence of how we can attain. So here is talking about real bhakti. Right, he's talking about real bhakti. One should think of Krishna as a person. What is he as a person? The Syamashundara form, the two-handed form, right? The four-handed form is the Paramatma form. So that is how we will be able to understand. Once we take the shelter of the Lord, shelter of the spiritual master, favorable we are in the devotional service, and once we cultivate our knowledge for the Krishna consciousness and cultivate continuously, how Ananya Bhakta, and that's how we will be able to be favorable and observing in Krishna consciousness. With this, we learnt about the Bhagavata Aishwarya Jnana from the first and the 10th verses, then the various ways to approach Krishna, and then finally we learned about how a devotee and how the Lord reciprocates in spite of being what you call abominable activities as well, the pure bhakti. With this, we close our session today. Sorry, we have delayed way longer. Let's close this topic here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. That's it. Okay, so we will get into the question answer session right now. Let me stop the screen share. Yes, we have a first question by Subramaniam Prabhu. Yes, please go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Subramanyam Prabhu. You can unmute yourself and ask question.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. See, the only confusion was that I heard the entire Mahabharata from Chaganti Koteshwara.
Chaganti Koteshwara. Okay.
Okay. In which he also said, I'm only saying what is actually written in Mahabharata and all those things. So the question which I sent previously also was basis my understanding. Maybe my understanding is wrong. If you can explain that, if that was not Krishna who actually after the Kurukshetra, everybody actually, they all leave. Yudhishthira also leaves, Draupadi also leaves, and Arjuna also leaves. They all go away in search of Krishna, and then finally Gandhari actually curses the entire Yadava clan and all those things. So I'm not sure if that understanding is correct. So if we can clarify that, no?
Yes, Prabhu. So what is the question? You would want to understand whether that particular curse was there or not?
No, when you said that Krishna was never born, so he will never perish. I totally trust you when you say that. But again, this scripture, Mahabharata, again written by Vyasa. Vyasa is one of the
Incarnation. So
Vishnu
he
Swarupa.
himself, the Lord himself.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, he is a Vyasa Swarupa. Vyasa is a Vishnu Swarupa,
Correct.
So why there is a difference in the two destinies was my question.
Why there is a difference in?
When you say that, Krishna is never born, so he will never perish. And here in the Mahabharata, the storyline goes like this. So
yeah.
The
So how was he?
goes that how all the Yadavas are killed.
Yeah. How is he born? So you would want to understand Prabhu as to how is he born in the Mahabharata storyline. Is that what your question? If we understood it correctly.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm sure by now we would have learned why does the Lord comes into the material world, right? We would have learned in the 4th chapter as to why he does come into the material world. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadishkritam, right? He comes for 3 reasons. What are the 3 reasons? To protect his devotees, right, and to establish the religious dharmas back again, and to annihilate the miscreants. So what happened is, in the, as we already know, that there are 4 yuga cycle. So Krishna comes in the 28th cycle of one of the, we need to learn this, Prabhu. This is little advanced, where he comes in the Brahma's life cycle in one of the where we learn he comes in that particular cycle, and he comes into the material world. He descends to the material world. So does he take a material body? No, he does not take a material body.
Sachidananda Vigraha.
He is a Satchitananda Vigraha, right? He is fully eternal, blissful, right? And is full of knowledge. He takes a Satchitananda Vigraha. It means he is in the transcendental form. So he's not in the material, he has not taken the material body at all. So when he completes his pastimes, that's where he leaves the material world. And is he there now in this particular Kali Yuga? Yes, he's there. How is he there? He is the sound representation. The scriptures which we are reading right now, Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavatam, he's there in the form of Bhagavatam, and he's there in the form of Bhagavad Gita. If we have heard our Chaganti Prabhu also explains the same thing. He is there in the Shruti form. That is how the Lord is still within us. For example, now we are listening to the glories of the Lord and the pastimes of the Lord. He is there around us. That is how we need to understand, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks a lot. That clarifies a lot of, because sometimes, it is a little contradictory. So, you get, instead of, gaining knowledge, there is more confusion actually in the mind actually. I'm sorry if I have asked a wrong question.
Not
No,
at
no,
all,
not at
not
all,
at all,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
Every
not at all.
question is important.
Every question is important and it will help the others as well. Very good question, in fact.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Please
Hare
go ahead.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have two questions. First is this, I might sound demonic a bit, but yeah, I have this doubt that how do I believe something that I cannot see? Like I'm listening from 1st of March that we go to Krishna when we chant and when we become his devotee, but how we see when we die, how we know that we reached Krishna? Like that's my first question.
Okay. So, have we already learned that, Mataji? I'm sorry I'm asking this question. We got delayed a lot today because we are not sure if we have learned this. Have we learned that we are, as in this material world, we are born with 4 defects?
I'm not, I didn't remember actually.
Okay. So, in this particular
Not as
material, sorry, Mataji, go ahead.
we have not learned it as yet.
Okay, we have not learned that yet. So we, in this material world, we are born with 4 defects. What are the 4 defects? We have imperfect senses, right? And number 2, we are illusioned, right? So as you rightly asked, Mataji, now if the Lord is right in front of us, we still don't understand. For example, for the last 8 days, maybe our Prabhuji would have explained the essence of chanting. How many of us have taken the essence of chanting? We don't. We have still not taken or started chanting, did we? Right? So the first defect is we have imperfect senses, we are illusioned, and because of these two, what we do, we commit mistakes. We have a tendency to commit mistakes, and because of these 3 things, what we do, we cheat others. So these are the 4 defects which we are literally have. So, to understand the tattva about the Lord, that is exactly why we need to take the shelter of a spiritual master. Now, who's a spiritual master? Who's beyond, right? Who is beyond? Who has realized? Who's a self-realized soul and who would have understood the Lord? And that is the importance of a spiritual master. Once we take the shelter of the spiritual master, we will be able to understand Krishna better. Now, can we see Krishna everywhere? Yes, he's there. In the form of light, he's there. In the form of air, he's there. In the form of water, he's there. Tomorrow, the entire 10th chapter, 11th chapter is all about Krishna, his opulences, and then in the 11th chapter, his entire vibhutis or the opulences, we will see that. How he's there in every anu, every matter, he's there. But how can we understand that? Only once we have faith and once we surrender.
Okay, Prabhuji. And my second question is, what's there in Bhagavatam and what's there in Brahma Samhita?
Okay, what is there in Bhagavatam? What is there in Bhagavatam? Bhagavatam is entirely, it talks about the pastimes about the Lord, right? It talks completely about the 10 portions or the 10 sections of the Lord, where, for example, the lower part of his body, the middle part of his body, the head section of his body, entirely it talks about the Lord in Bhagavatam, which is like little bit advanced. Now, what is Brahma Samhita? Brahma Samhita is something where it explains about the entire cosmic manifestation, again about Lord Krishna, the Brahmaji glorifying about the Lord himself. That is what is explained in the essence of Brahma Samhita. I'm sure if you join our Bhagavatam classes, which are His Grace Namanishta Prabhu does in the morning, you will be able to connect a bit of it, a gist of it, Mataji.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Prabhuji, and thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Mataji. We'll go
Hare
ahead
Krishna,
with
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Yogita Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
I wanted to ask one clarification that we have to worship Krishna in the form of Nila Megashama. That's what you said, right? Not the like Chaturbhuja form is not worshipped.
Chaturbhuja form also we can worship Mataji. That is like first when we are trying to think about the Lord. Initially, we'll think about the Brahman realization. But once you already understand what is Brahman realization and the Chaturbhuja form, we can directly pray Lord Krishna itself, the two-handed form. You're right, Mataji. Your understanding is correct.
Okay, so while buying or if we are gifting someone, we can buy the bluish Krishna, the usual photo we get with flute. That is perfect, right? For
Yes, Mataji.
worship.
Yes, Mataji. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay, and I had one more question. That Krishna, Vishnu, and Narayana, and all are the same God. We
Lord
say
himself. Yes,
Lord
Lord
himself.
himself.
So it's a little difficult for me to understand. Like Krishna is the super soul. So he has different avatars which also coexists. So does it mean that his soul is also multiplied? He's able to. How is that? I'm not able to understand that.
Okay, so the difference between Krishna and all the avatars, one simple difference or distinction which we will try to understand here, Mataji. Lord Krishna has, there are five rasas which he exhibits, right? These rasas are not there with the other forms. When you say Narayana, right? When we say Vishnu, and all these things, those are not exhibiting. But however, with Krishna, we have something called as a Vatsalya rasa, the Madhurya rasa. So, what are these rasas? We can exchange them. These are the transcendental mellows which the devotees try to establish with them. But however, when we take about these avatars, they are also Narayana. For example, Narsimha, Lord Narsimha, Ugra Narsimha, who's there. He's also Swayam, he himself is a Lord Krishna. But however, he does not exhibit those rasas over here. But however, in them, these rasas are exhibited or transcendental mellows can be exhibited. You
Yeah,
want to
and
add something?
also, yeah, and also we read today that about Samoham Sarva Bhuteshu. So he's actually present. That is the Chaturbhuja form. That is the Paramatma who's there. The Chaturbhuja form is also one of the portions where he's also he's sitting in our hearts in the Chaturbhuja form. And here we'll see that in the Chaturbhuja form he's in the Shantarasa. So you can't expect all the Krishna's forms to have all kinds of five rasas. Like Krishna has Shanta Rasa, he's also in the reference, and also he's in the Dasya Rasa. We can love Krishna in the Dasya Rasa, and also we can love Krishna in the form of a friend, like a Sakhya Rasa, and also Vatsalya, like Yashodamai, who was a mother, who had a parental relationship with Krishna, and also Madhurya, like conjugal love. So these are the rasas that are exhibited by Krishna, and these are very sweet for all the devotees to see. So he when we are seeing these pastimes, it makes us extremely happy, and these pastimes and these kind of rasas make us happy to see and be happy, and it becomes very transcendental. And that's why we feel that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, who incarnates into, who's actually a avatar of, like, he goes when we are meeting somebody at his workplace, that's going to be like in the Narayana or the Vishnu forms. But when we want to meet somebody at their own home, at home they're exhibiting all the
Krishna himself.
home like qualities of Krishna, which is more sweeter, and we feel more happier to have such forms. And hence we try to pray only Krishna, so that we go to the supreme abode and get this transcendental happiness. This is the topmost transcendental happiness.
Yeah, so just now what Mataji was trying to explain, the same example Srila Prabhupada gives every time. For example, let's say a son would want to meet his father, right? A son would want to meet his father. When the son goes to the office, the father will not behave, he might be a father, but he will not behave like a father over there. He will behave as if he's in the office, but when his son comes, he will just act accordingly that is required to that particular situation. But when the son meets the father at his home, Now the sun can jump on his shoulders. He can do anything and everything, play around and do it. So these are the rasas which are exhibited with Lord Krishna, is what we can understand that, Mataji. Hope we were able to answer that.
Yes, yes, I got a lot of clarity, but one more, I still have that confusion that if like so many avatars are coexisting, for example, Vyasadeva and Parashuram, that means that they are having soul that is coexisting, like is it like multiple copies of same super soul that is coexisting? How is that?
No,
That
we are the spiritual sparks, Mataji. We are the sparks of the Lord.
No,
We are
I'm
the
not asking about
Also,
us, but
Mataji, to your answer to your question, it's like Krishna has many avatars. Like he has Leela avatars. We will be reading about this when we are defining about the Goloka chart. It's not done. I think it's 10th or 11th day that we will be introducing the Goloka chart. In that, we will see the Leela avatars and
the
also
Guna
the Guna
avatars.
avatars and also Shakti Avesha avatars, where we will see how many types of incarnations. Krishna takes so many avatars. He can take so many avatars, and also all of the avatars he's holding, and also this world is held by him, and he himself is maintaining also. So we can't say that he is it's not him. When we are saying Srila Vyasadeva, we can't say it's not him, it's he himself. So he can do so many, we cannot do such things, and he can do that.
That's the Lord's
Yes.
inconceivable energy or
Yes,
the
that's the
potency.
Achintya Beda that we were referring today. The Achintya Beda, the
Tattva.
fourth to 12th, that's the Achintya Beda that we
Essence we were
defined
learning
today.
about today.
Yes.
yes, true, true. Thank you so much.
Difficult to get, it's
Yes, it is.
inconceivable, but at the same time, we have to believe, like your first question, that how do we develop this faith? It's very difficult when the first and the basic thing that we can develop faith is by hearing. Shravanam is so important that as you keep hearing the glories of the Lord, you'll start realizing many truths about how when we are not hearing, we can't understand that these are all existing. But when we keep hearing, we are able to understand how exactly Krishna is the supreme, and this everybody's level of understanding differs. And because
Yes,
everybody's level of hearing differs, and understanding and faith differs. So this is how we need to develop faith, so that we'll be able to understand the supreme truth.
yes. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to be disrespectful. It's just that we get so many doubts because our understanding is so limited. So it is sometimes
worries.
difficult to wrap our mind around certain things which are like beyond our understanding.
Yes,
So thank
Mataji.
you.
Yes,
This
Mataji.
will
Very good.
clarify
Please ask
questions to
questions,
others also,
Mataji. It will
Mataji. This
clarify
is very
others'
good.
questions as well. Very good. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Yeah,
Hare
thank you so much.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Shiv and Mamta.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji once again.
Yeah.
I have read somewhere that Krishna is said to be Sola Kala Sampan. So what is that Sola Kala Sampan means?
Sola Kala Sampanna.
I've not heard this,
I've not
Mataji. What
heard
is
this,
this regarding?
Mataji. Is it there in the scriptures somewhere
Is this in Bhagavad Gita, Mataji?
or Bhagavatam?
No, I don't know if it's there or not, but I have read it somewhere. That's why I was just asking this.
Okay, we will try to review it. Maybe she'll try to cross check right now.
Sola Kala, Mataji?
Sampanna.
Sola
Sampanna.
Kala Sampan.
Okay.
What would you like to know about this, Mataji?
What does it
What
mean?
does that mean? Sri?
Okay.
Okay. While Mataji is trying to find that in the scriptures, we will take the next question by Murli Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Prabhu. Can you hear
Prabhuji.
me?
Hare Krishna. Yes, we can hear you very well.
Prabhuji, I have a question going into slide 9.2. Yeah. There you
9.2.
mention 9.2. Then there you mention dharma as religion. When is it religion in the Western sense, or is it a Sanatana dharma that we in the Indian subcontinent know?
Bang on, Prabhuji. You're right. Dharma is the Sanatana Dharma which we are talking about. Sanatana Dharma is the which we are talking about, the Varna and the Ashramas. Bang on. You're right. Correct.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay, so there are no hands raised here. We will quickly go to the chat in case we missed out something. Please give us a moment.
No question in chat also,
There are
Prabhuji.
no questions over here. Okay. Okay, so I guess there are no questions.
Prabhuji?
Yes.
Prabhuji,
Sorry.
can I have the slides?
Yes, we will
They're very
upload it.
beautiful.
Yeah, we will upload into the particular folder. I think Sikriti Mataji or Pradosh Prabhu, we upload it into a respective folder, right?
Yes, we have the drive links.
Yes. So maybe if you have the drive, I will share it to you, Mataji. Maybe you can post it over there. We'll post it over there, Prabhuji.
And then can you post the link as well somewhere
Yes,
so that I
yes.
can write down?
Sure,
Thank you.
sure.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yes, Sri Vidya Mataji, you have a question, Mataji. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
So this is a general question. I'm being so judgmental when I see people around me thinking that they're all toxic while I'm not perfect by myself. So I should not be thinking like that. So what essence do I get from Krishna on this?
Okay, so
By
you're
looking at all of this, we all have to understand, Mataji, that we all have so much impurities in us that we all have to chant and cleanse ourselves. Krishna every time reminds that we are in this material world, which is temporary, which is a jail, which is required for us to revive ourselves. So when we see that this is temporary and we are trying to lord over things, when we are saying we are lord over things, that oh, these are all these material opulences are for me, and I have to take all of this and enjoy. So this material propensity makes everybody that I am the Bhoktaram. So they try to take everything and they try to experience and enjoy everything, and they try to become very mean and selfish. And we should see that this material world can do give us so many contaminations, and we have to come out of these contaminations to go back to the spiritual world where it is free from envy. It's free from, every time we pray Krishna in the spiritual world, others will think, oh, how can I pray better? How can I actually she's praying so much better. Oh, you try to appreciate others. You try to appreciate in the devotee community. You might see that all of them, oh, she's trying to pray so nicely. She's trying to pray so nicely. So you try to appreciate others than becoming selfish, and that can happen only if you pray Krishna.
And yes, so how do we take that in a real life scenario, as just now Mataji was trying to explain? Remember, Mataji, in the second chapter, I'm sure you would have learned about the tortoise, how the tortoise withdraws its limbs, right? Angani, Kurmani Angani, right? How the tortoise withdraw the limbs. Similarly, all you have to do when you see there is a lot of toxic around you, now some way or the other you have to understand these concepts, understand the concept of the body of the chariot or chariot of the body, and you should withdraw your senses, utilize your mind with your mind, and utilize your intelligence. At that point of time you should know as to what you should listen, what you should not listen. Do I need to ignore others, or can I just listen to them and become a paramahamsa? Who's a paramahamsa? Is one, for example, just like a hamsa. What the hamsa does, if you add milk and water and give it to the hamsa will purify, yeah, purify the entire water as well as the milk, and only drink the milk portion of it. Similarly, we all are devotees here right now. We are in the path of Krishna consciousness. Some way or the other we have taken the shelter of the Lord, and just because of Srila Prabhupada, and we are getting this knowledge. So with this we understand right now what is right and what is wrong for me. No matter what, how much ever toxicity is there around us, that is where we need to thank that, oh, there is toxicity around me. How much toxicity is there within me? Let me try to understand and appreciate that we got that knowledge and make use of it, and try to bring it down, Mataji. That's how we can
I
understand.
can definitely I can realize that I'm able to filter what is good and what is bad for myself. But as you say, when it comes to daily life, dealing with people, it's a big question how to react, respond, those things. So
Definitely.
so you was I get it's all within us. We should bring a change in ourselves, within ourselves, to approach the situation.
Yes, Mataji.
Also,
Thank you.
Mataji, the chanting gives us a lot of relief when we do that. Until
Sure.
you start chanting, before chanting, we won't know it. But when you start chanting, we automatically realize that how much peace it can bring. And also, it helps how the Angani Kurmani just now, what Prabhuji was explaining. It helps us
Sure.
in applying the science of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, I know I'm right there. Like how God has got me here for these sessions, one back to back. It's all God's grace. I can know that because, I believe that strongly. Without God's will, nothing can happen. Like, so I am here. It's God's will. So I am just, the next step would be the chanting. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Bol.
Krishna. Thank
Perfect,
you,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Thank you so much. Okay, we have
Murthy Prabhu.
Murthy Prabhuji. Please go ahead, Prabhu. I think Sikriti Mataji and Pradosh Prabhu, you can log out or
Sign off
sign
in
out. I
case
think
you
it's way, way late for you, Prabhuji and Mataji. Please go ahead. We'll take care here.
No issues, Prabhuji.
Okay.
No problem.
Murthy Prabhu just
Okay.
got
I
dropped
think
off, I think.
Murthy Prabhuji just got dropped off. There are any questions anymore? Were you able to find the 16 things? What?
It's not. Mataji, just want to confirm once again the 16 kala. I don't see this in scriptures over here, so I can't give a scriptural reference. We can check about this from our gurus and then get back to you, Mataji.
Okay, sure.
We will park this and we will answer this in tomorrow's session, Mataji.
Okay,
Yes,
sure. Prabhuji.
Somebody has tried to answer here, I think, but however, I'm not sure if that is the correct answer. Please allow us some time. Maybe this might be the correct answer. We will validate this and we will come back.
Okay, sure, Prabhuji.
Okay. I see
Hare
there are
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I see there are no more questions here. With this, I think we will end the session here. I'm sorry we have taken so much of the time to explain because we are not sure what was explained. I'm sure we try to do our best in the shortest of the possible time. That was the instruction given to us by His Grace Namaneshta Prabhuji. Immediately he said you have to take over, so we took over this particular. But from
Yeah,
tomorrow onwards,
we apologize if there is any inconvenience. We
yes,
can
please
totally
pray for us.
understand that when you are already listening to a particular guru, when there is a change, it's difficult to change and switch over. But we'll try our best to creep up to the expectations and what was already taught.
With this, we'll take your permission to end the session here, right? We'll end the session here and we will close with our closing prayers. Okay, I think Ankita Mataji has asking, please repeat the 4 defects mentioned before. Yeah, the 4 defects that we mentioned is 1, we are born with imperfect senses, right? And we are illusioned because of Maya, because we are in this material nature, we are illusioned, right? And we have, because of this, we have a cheating propensity, right? We cheat others. And the last one is we make what you call, we make mistakes. Because we make mistakes and we are illusioned and we have imperfect senses, we cheat. So these are the 4 defects. Okay, with this, we will do our closing prayers and then we will
Hare
end.
Krishna.
Can
I make a last comment, Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna. One last question. Sorry.
please, Prabhu, go ahead.
Uh,
Hare Krishna Murthy Prabhuji. You can unmute yourself and ask question.
hello. My question was. Hello. Hare Krishna. You are muted, Prabhuji.
Sorry.
Host has muted.
Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, so Murthy Prabhu, I think you're trying to say something. We can't hear you.
No,
Can you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
My throat is bad. So if you have a difficulty in understanding, please ask me. Somebody asked a question about Sola Kala Sampan. That is nothing but a basic description of Sri Krishna. It has nothing to do with Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam or any other scripture. It is a basic description, and a lot of this Sola Kala, the 16 art forms, is given in Wikipedia.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Murthy Prabhuji, let Prabhuji validate and get it. So you can ask your queries if you have.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yes, we can go ahead with Wikipedia, but at the same time, we want to see the authenticity of Wikipedia, because Wikipedia blogs can be created by anybody and everybody, but we would want to see some scriptural references as well. That's why we said we would want to validate that. But at the same time, thank you so much for sharing that piece of information. We will try to see that tomorrow and we will come back to it, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess there are no more questions here, so we will end the session with this.
Subramaniam Prabhu was actually asking a
Is it?
question.
Okay. Let us,
Subramaniam Prabhu, you had a question?
let's unmute.
No, yeah. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes,
Prabhuji.
perfect. Please go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay, from tomorrow onwards, you and Mataji will continue the rest of the classes.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Suhas Prabhu is engaged in another work. He
I,
has his office work, which he is engaged
all
in.
of a sudden, he got a different shift timings and he's engaged in his office work. That's how, what you call our His Grace Namanishta Prabhu gave this seva to us.
Oh, very nice. I loved the today's session actually. So I pray for you both, and I like the entire recitation of all the shlokas today. Very nice actually. Very nice.
Hari Bol, Hari
Hari
Bol.
Bol,
All
Hari
glories to
Bol.
Guru and Gauranga
Well
Prabhuji.
recited all the shlokas and then explained the meaning. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. All glories to Guru and Gauranga. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, I think we have one more request. Humble request. Please do Nectar of Instruction class as you mentioned in the previous batch. Yes, Mataji, we tried to collate people, but we did not get anybody. This time, if there are at least one or two people also, we are ready to do the Nectar of Instructions. Haribol, we'll take your orders, Mataji. Definitely, we will follow Nectar of Instructions for sure. Okay, with this, we'll get into our closing prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
नाम संकीर्तन की
जय
रामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की
जय
श्री प्रभुपाद की
जय
समेत गौर भक्त वृंद की
जय
उपस्थित गौर भक्त वृंद की
Jai.
पिता गौर
God
प्रेमानंदे
Premanande. Hari Bol. Thank you so much, everyone. And sincere apologies from us for delaying the session. We will try to ensure for not giving such detailed information. We'll try wherever it is required. We will come back with tomorrow's chapter. Don't miss out. Tomorrow is the 10th chapter. We will learn the Chatur Shlokis, which is the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you so much. Stay safe. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
With your permission,
Krishna.
we'll end the session here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.